So earlier we learned how we can create a React app. And if you remember, we made a React app inside the C drive. We created a folder, React. Inside this, if you remember, I made the app or React project and I gave it name app1. So you can see here, there is a folder for this project or this app. We gave it name app1. Now to run this app, you have to go to this folder and its name is app1. I go here and then to start my project we give the command npm start. Since we are inside the project folder, we need not specify the name of the project and run. So this will open the web application in the browser with the URL localhost colon and then the port number, and the by default port number is 300. So if you see here, your app is ready. Now to access the code and write some new code or modify the code, we have to open the the code. Some of the code is written here by automatically by React. So for accessing our code, for writing our code, we will be using Visual Studio Code Editor. You can see the icon here. I already installed and I explained in the previous lecture how you can install Visual Studio. So I'll click here and start Visual Studio. So I'll close this windows. Okay. Now to open your project, let me just close everything to start with. So when you have this Visual Studio, to open your React app which you created, you have to go here file and then you have to choose open folder because your project consists of a folder in that it has many files. So I'll click open folder and then I made that React application inside the C drive. Inside the C drive I made the folder React. So React is the folder where I have all my projects. So right now I have only one project. So this is my React app whose name I gave app1. So you don't have to go further. Click on this project folder and then you see the option here select folder. So we have to select the folder. So click select folder and then you can see here on the left side of this in the Explorer panel you see the name of the project folder app1 and inside it you have some folders, node modules, public and source folder, some other files. So if you click node modules you have a long list of files, no need to bother about this folder. Then inside the public you have a folder index.html, right? So I will talk about this index.html. And inside the source folder we will have some files like index.js, app.js. So we will discuss about these files. So don't get bogged down or don't bother about when you see so many files and folders created when you made the React app. So let me first go to the public folder and let me talk about this index.html file. So if I click here, on the right side you can see the content of this index file. So if you see, this is very similar to your normal HTML page where you have HTML tag, you have head elements, some meta tags, some links to the CSS file or those type of things, right? So let me just close the head element also. Now inside this page, inside the body, you have one element called, you have a div element and the ID of this div is root. So as I mentioned in the initial lectures that React app is a single page application, okay, and that single page is index.html. It means that the any website visitor can access only index.html page. Whatever information has to be presented to the user, that information will be pushed into this div element whose ID is root, right? So this is the only thing we need to remember. In fact, even if you don't open this index.html page, automatically things will be pushed here. So we don't even need to touch this file. So the second thing, the other files, I'll go to the source folder. Inside the source, I have one file here, index.js. So if I click here, index.js, you can see the content of this file here. Okay, again, there are a lot of lines, but we don't have to bother about all these lines. Basically, index.js, the responsibility of the index.js is to push the main component, because we discussed before that your React application will consist of many components. Okay, and the main component or the root component, we will call it like app component, and this is how we specify the name of the component, right? So if this file will push this component into the index.html component, right? And we will define the app component where we will put all the information that will be pushed to the index.html. So if you see the lines here, I will just discuss some of the lines here. So the first line says import React from React. So as I told you, React is a JavaScript library which are used to make a user interface, dynamic user interface, right? So here we are importing that React library from the React, right? And we are importing something React DOM, okay, from this. Okay, don't worry much about, don't bother about this right now. Then we are importing some CSS file whose name is index.css, just like you import CSS and HTML. Here we use the import command to import some CSS file, right? So let's not bother about CSS also. We will be covering this later on. Okay, and as I told you, the main component that we will make, it will be the app component, and this component will store all the other components that have to be pushed to the index.js file. So whenever you need to use some component in some JavaScript file or React file, that component has to be imported. So what this command is doing, it is importing app component from, okay, that slash means that the location of the file or component, right? So we have a component which is inside this folder. Okay, so where is this? You can see here this app.js. So this actually refers to, you can write like this, app.js. So from this file, the app component will be imported, and then it is kept here, which can be delivered to the index.html, right? Okay, so don't worry about this line also. We don't. So if you see line number 4, so it is talking about getting the element by ID, getting which element whose ID is root. So here it refers to the file in the index.html, refers to index.html. Inside index.html, we have an element with ID root, right? This is the place where all the information will be pushed so that the website visitors can see. So get this element by ID root from where? From the document. Which document? Index.html. Okay, and then we are creating a handle for this React DOM.create root, and this handle we are giving to the constant root, right? So now when I use the word root, it means I'm referring to the root element, okay, the ID div whose ID is root. So I want to push or display or render something inside the root. So root.render, that means please the components that are mentioned here, that will be rendered or displayed inside the element root, and root we defined here, it is the element whose ID is root in the index.html, which is this one in the index.html. this div. I hope it is clear. Okay. So right now, ignore this thing react.strict mode. Inside this, you can, what is important is the name of the component here. So we will discuss about it in detail about this component, right? Okay. Now what is there in this component? We are pushing this app component in the index.html page, right? But let's see what is inside the app component. So let me go to the app.js file, because the name of the component and name of the JavaScript file is same. So if the name of the component is app, it must be present inside the file app.js. So let me click here. So this is the code that you see, and the output of this code, if you see here in the return statement, if you see this code here, you have one div, okay, whose class name is app, and we have some header, we have some image, you have some paragraph, you have some hyperlink, right? And if you see, this information is what is being returned, okay, to the index.js file, and index.js is pushing the app component to the index.html file. So what is the output? What is this div tag? Whatever you are mentioning here, image and paragraph and a hyperlink, this is what you are seeing in your browser. So we have some mistakes here. Okay, I removed something from index.js. Let me fix that. Sorry, index.js. Yeah, I just need to remove this report, this line actually. Ignore all these things, right? So I will save it, and now if I see my window, right? So right now the app component, okay, which is this code, okay, this is being pushed to the index.js, and index.js is sending this app to the index.html in the div tag. So this is the output that you are seeing. Is it clear? Okay. So if you see this code here, this code is generating this animation and text and hypertext, right? Hyperlinks. So let me remove everything here. See, as discussed before, a component, okay, it returns some HTML. Function returns some value, but the component returns some HTML. So if you see here return, in this return, whenever you return something, you have to return everything in one block. So here I made the one block, div block, and all the HTML, JavaScript, whatever I have to return, I have to put it inside this, right? So let me just put some simple text here. Let's say h1, and I'll say hello React, kind of hello world program, right? So you see immediately this page is being updated here. Okay, if your page is not being updated here, just save your file. Okay, then I will teach you a method where you don't have to save the file. Even just when you make some changes in the React code, automatically it will be reflected here, right? So now this h1 is being sent to the, this component returns h1, which goes to index.js, and from the index.js it goes to the index.html. Let me have some more code. Let me have some paragraph. I am new to React. So you can see here the changes here, right? So I'm not using a logo here. I can remove this. I'm not using any CSS for this file. I can remove this. So this is your first or the primary component, app component, and if you see, it looks like a function, right? In JavaScript, you create a function with the function keyword, then name of the component, and name of the component is same as the name of the file. And all files or components, they will start with capital letter. Okay, so write capital A then PP. Don't write in small case. Okay, and this component, what it is returning? As I told you, the component will always return some HTML. Okay, a function returns some value, some numeric value or something string, right? And whatever you return, it has to be enclosed in one HTML element. So I'm just using it div element. Inside this div, I have one or more HTML components. Okay. In fact, I will discuss with you later on that what you see here, what looks like HTML here, HTML tags. They look like HTML tags, but we call them JSX. So JSX will be something like HTML, but there will be some differences. We will cover that later on, right? So I hope you got the idea how this React app will work. And gradually, when we progress, we started with first component, and then gradually we will be making components for different things. Component for navigation bar, component for login block, component for registration block, component for different things, right? So I hope it is clear. And again, for if you want to close the app, you can just go to the command prompt, and then you can just press Control C, and it will ask you whether you want to terminate the batch job. If you say yes, then this app will be closed. So I just put here yes. So if I refresh now, the app is closed. So I hope things are clear now. So as we do more programs, things will become more clear. So don't bother in the beginning. It looks like a lot of things to do. So the idea of this whole program was just to open the app and do some modification, do some changes, and then we will, in the subsequent lectures, we will go step by step. Thank you.